Yeah, here's that Troy-Bilt XP I filmed yesterday that the drive system's not working on. It's the middle of the day. I'm using my new phone right now to show it clearer. Alright, because I want to show exactly everything with the cover off, how this thing works. I think it's either it has a bad transmission, or this thing has pulleys. They're not normal pulleys. They squeeze the belt to give it more tension. It might just not be squeezing the belt to give it more tension. So I'm going to show everything on this, and then, like I said, the two things I think could possibly be wrong is something with those pulleys, because they're like CVT pulleys that squeeze the belt. The harder it squeezes the belt, the more tension it puts on the belt, and the faster it goes. It might not be putting tension on the belt, and that's why it's not moving. Or the transmission might be bad. If the transmission is bad, this drive system is out. I'm going to remove enough pieces off of it and just make it a push mower. The transmission's $105. It's not worth repairing it if that's the issue. They don't make this style drive system anymore, and I can tell why, because it probably failed a lot. And you know, it's just very overcomplicated. It's complex. One person, said to put the phone on the ground and try to see it that way. Even if you put the phone on the ground, you're still not going to be able to see up in there. Plus, then you're just at risk of putting damage on your phone. Definitely not going to do that with my new phone. And even the other phone, I really don't care if it happened to it, but you still wouldn't be able to see up in there. But I'm going to flip it up now. Okay, so I'll just show it one more time. We've got a speed selector in the center here. It's got 4 speeds. And then the valve itself that goes to the transmission. The transmission's in the back. This valve pulls an arm on the transmission. That would engage the transmission. That would make the transmission start to move. If the belt has enough tension to turn a pulley. If the belt doesn't have enough tension to turn a pulley, it's still not going to move. The gears are fine. The belt looks fine. But again, it could be either the transmission internally or something to do with those pulleys not squeezing the belt tight enough. So the transmission's in the back, okay, like a normal mower on a rear-wheel drive. The belt runs to the center. That's where the gear selector part of it is. Both pulleys, the back and the front, are on a spline. They move up and down to squeeze the belt with more and less tension. That might not be working properly. Either that or the transmission's not working properly. I can test the transmission by pulling on this or squeezing on, or pulling the arm on the transmission and turning the transmission's pulley, and if it turns the shaft, then that means the transmission's good. If it doesn't turn it, then that means it's no good. So if that part works, that means it's something else. And I'm going to show the rest of this, because the way this whole thing's set up, it's odd. Most people haven't dealt with this. A few people have. It's an oddball system that they stopped making. So, like I said, this runs to the back. This runs to the middle of, under the engine, to that second pulley. And then there's a spring. And there's a ratcheting clutch and plastic, like ratcheting teeth that select the gear. I'm going to show all that. I don't think that part's not working either. And I know the cables are all working. Check that. Okay. I think it's either the pulleys aren't squeezing the belt tight enough or the transmission's shot. Let me get this thing up in the air. Alright, so here's the transmission. You see it better now? You see how there's a big spring on the top of that? This whole transmission, you see it? It goes up and down. This whole thing goes up and down. See it? See how I pull on the belt? It spreads it more. See how there's splines in between there, like a CVT? The tighter and closer together this is, the more tension it puts on the belt. This belt has very little tension on it right now. Barely enough to make this turn. But when that valve is engaged, when you turn this, if that arm's turned pushed in all the way, these axles should be turning. If it's not, the inside of this transmission shot. But hold on, I just saw it. It wanted to go. We're gonna find out right now. Hold on. Yeah, I gotta squeeze that arm. We're gonna see if this transmission's the problem. If it's not, then it's these pulleys. It's gotta be these pulleys. Something to do with these pulleys. So this one's like that, and the one in the center is like that. I'm gonna take this cover off. I'm gonna show that too. Alright, I have a feeling this transmission's no good because I have that bail held up with a clamp. And when I pull this, when I turn this, it's not moving the axles. The axle should be moving right now. It's not. Okay? So, likelihood that this transmission is bad is actually, there's a good possibility this transmission's bad. So what I'm gonna end up doing, if that is the case, I'm gonna remove all these components and I'm just gonna make this a push mower. And that's gonna be that. But I gotta make sure before I go and do that. But it does look like this transmission might be the issue. These transmissions are $105. They're not worth replacing. These gears should be turning right now. They're not. From this aspect. So I think that's it. I think I solved the issue. It's the transmission itself. It's shot. And I don't have one like this. And I'm not paying $105 for one, so if that's what it is, then that's it. It's just gonna become a push mower. I think the transmission's no good. Here's what it looks like behind the wheel. Good metal gears. So that wasn't the issue. Yeah, it's a transmission. When you turn this, that axle should be turning and these gears should be turning. They're not. So I think I've solved the issue. And I don't have one to replace, and they're $105. I'll look it up real quick and check. But unless I can get one really cheap, it's not worth it. So, but I'm gonna show you guys under here exactly what it looks like, the next thing. So now you know that this isn't a normal pulley. It's a CVT pulley that squeezes the belt and gives it more tension. That's how that works. Let me show this part now. Alright, here's for how it shifts, the shifting part of it. So there's the cable for the shifter. Comes to this mechanism right here with the spring on the end of it. And then I'm guessing when you select gears, it clicks into one of these, which would put more tension on the belt, which would increase the speed. And as you can see, this is also a situation where it's not a regular pulley, it's a CVT. The more tension that goes on the belt, the tighter it gets. And so when you put this back together, or you get an arrow here for the center of it, see, this, and this goes on. These click into place for each gear, and that selects the speed. But anyway, I don't actually see anything wrong with this. Alright, so that means it's the transmission. So what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna run the numbers on that trans and see if I can find one cheap. If I can't, I'm getting rid of all these components and I'm just gonna turn this into a push mower real quick. It'll be light enough, and then sell it for about 150 bucks, because it's just not worth putting that much money into if I had to spend, you know, anything over like 30 bucks. If it's 30 bucks for a transmission, then it might be worth it. But anything past that, it's not worth the money or the time to wait for it. I'll just remove all these components. On the handlebars, this thing can be removed, and just have this and just make it a push mower and get at least 150 bucks for it as a 3-in-1. That's probably going to be the game plan. But I did narrow it down, and Norge was the one to tell me to check the trans. You know, that he's the one that reminded me on how to check that trans, and it's not working. It's not operating. So that did go kaput. And it's sad too, because I have a lot of walk-behind transmissions, but not one like this, because this is a very rare, oddball type. You know, most of them are simple rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. Either they swivel, and that puts more tension on the belt, which gives it more speed, or the speed selector is right on the transmission. It's not this. So there's a lot of things that can fail on these. The CVT pulleys can freeze up on you. This part can go bad on you. Or the transmission itself can go bad on you. I narrowed it down, it's the transmission. So I'm gonna run the numbers right here, right now, see if it's worth it. If it's not, all this stuff's coming off right now, and it's becoming a push mower. And that's that. Because I mean, it's got a good Honda engine. You know, it's a 3-in-1. It's a good mower. Just doesn't have self-propel. So once I remove all that, it'll be light enough to be a good push mower. Give it a quick tune-up, quick wash. Get at least a quick 150 bucks, maybe a little bit more, somewhere in that range. And that's it. So thanks to everybody who gave me a little bit of advice on this. That's everything to it. Now that you've seen it, definitely overcomplicated. Was a pain getting like that back plastic piece out. There's another plastic cover that goes over this. It's just, it was too much. It was overcomplicated, and then when things fail, you know, it's just a pain to fix, you know, compared to a typical transmission. So that's what the situation was on these, and that's why you don't see too many of them, and that's why they stopped making this design, because I'm sure they failed a lot. So that's the story on this one. Thanks for all the help. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. I know there's a lot of people watching my videos who aren't subscribed. Take that second, subscribe. Give me the thumbs up and leave a comment. If there's any update past just removing it, making it a push mower, I'll let you know. If I do end up repairing it, I'll let you know, but I don't think so. All right? Okay, guys and gals, everyone. Later.